Hi, I'm Christine, and I'm here. I'm going to read an article that I've just found. Um, I think that everybody needs to know this, and it's very serious. And it's all about our children being drugged and sexual cults that's going on in Cornwall, Ontario. And we are known for Cornwall, Prescott, and London are known in the States as the paradise for sexual abuse, children exploitation, and trafficking of children in the care system that are basically are invisible way beyond the protection of their identity. And a lot of it, as I read through this, you're going to hear that the children are being drugged quite heavily, and more than half of the children in foster cares, and that children are being traded off, and it's $1 billion corporation. And it's actually been going on. And this last article is actually November 9th, 2019. So let's get started here because I think that once you hear about this, I am in Cornwall, and this is where we are. So, judging by the Cornwall Project Truth and Prescott Project Jericho, children are actually, in fact, being hurt and killed, and held into some pretty nasty things, and it just tears me apart. Just reading about it, and the fake drug tests that they did were actually a real thing. People are saying that, but then they're just, oh, you're saying that because you're on drugs. Well, let's get started. And we can kind of go from there and see what we're going to do about this. Okay, so this right here is for the new CEO, Nicole Bonney. Okay, and like I said, it was posted then, and it's tagged by Ontario Sex Cult. Okay, nearly half of the children in Crown Care are medicated. Psychotropic drugs are being prescribed to nearly half of the Crown wards, and a sample of Ontario Children's Aid Society kindly fears the agency are overusing medication with the province's most vulnerable children. Ontario researchers have found that not only were psychotropic drugs were prescribed to the clear majority of the current and former wards interviewed, but were most diagnosed with mental health diagnosed disorders by family doctor. Never visited a child psychologist or another doctor for a second opinion, and doubled the accuracy of their diagnosis. Toronto Star investigator has found Ontario's most vulnerable children in the care of the accountable and non-transparent protection system. It keeps them in the shadows far beyond what it's needed to be to protect their identities. When people are invisible, bad things happen, says Irwin Ellman, Ontario's now former and last advocate for children and youth with the closure of the office. A disturbing number of the network's research director, Yolanda Lamb, added, have traded the children's welfare system for a life on the streets. A lot of the people using drugs now, she said, there's a lot of homeless young people who have been medicated quite heavily. And Ontario CIS has turned themselves into a multi-billion-dollar private corporation using excuse of compel parents into submitting a fake drug testing to justify removing children or keeping files open, keeping that government funding flowing. All of the while, they're taking the thousands of children in Pacific CIS approved doctors who are all too happy to prescribe medication based on the workers' aware assessments of the children's condition. That's why there are no follow-ups and qualified medical psychiatric doctors, and not because the CIS lack of funding, staff, or attention span, they care properly or to care properly for the children. Marty McKay is a Toronto child psychologist, was hired by a CASSS to grandparent capacity of the guardians only to discover a child chemistry altered that has real characteristics was clouded by the side effects of adult doses of drugs. There are lots of kids like that, said Dr. McKay, one of the experts of the government panel. If you look at the group's homes, it's close to 100% of all the kids who are not just on drugs, but on drug cocktails with multiple diagnoses. There are too many kids being diagnosed with a whole range of disorders that the way out of proportional of the normal population. It's just not reasonable to think that the children in care would have such over-representation in these rather obscure disorders. According to the documents obtained by the Global Mail under Ontario's Freedom of Information Act, 47% of the Crown wards, the children in permanent CIS care at 5 randomly picked agencies were prescribed psychotropics last year to treat depression, attention disorder, deficit disorder, anxiety, and other mental health problems. And the wards are diagnosed and medicated for more often than children in the general population. Now you can also find this on www.theglobalmail.com. News National, nearly half children in Crown care are medicated. Article 687480 / Okay. Use of the behavior altering drugs widespread in the foster group homes. Okay. Almost half of the young foster and group home ages 5 to 17. 48.6% are on drugs such as Ritalin, tranquilizers, anticonvulsants, according to a yearly survey conducted for Provincial Government and Ontario Association of Children, Aid Societies, OACAS, at ages 16 to 17, fully 50% are on these medications. In group homes, the figure is even higher, and an average of 64% of the children and youth are taking behavioral altering drugs. For 10 to 15-year-olds, the number of strategy is 74%. What's worse, that the number of children prescribed dangerous drugs on the rise. Doctors seem to prescribe medication without being concerned with the side effects. Worldwide, 17 million children, some young of 5 years old, are given a variety of different prescribed drugs, including psychiatric drugs that are dangerous, even that regularly agencies in Europe, Australia, and US have issued warnings on the side effects that include suicidal thoughts and aggressive behaviors. According to Fight for Kids, an organization that educates parents worldwide of the facts about today's worldwide practice of labeling children's medically ill and drugging them with heavy and mind-altering psychiatric drugs, says over 10 million children in the USA are prescribed addictive stimulants, antidepressants, and over psychotropic, mild-altering drugs for alleged education and behavioral problems. In fact, according to Foundation for Drug-Free World, every day, 2,500 youth, 12 to 17, will abuse and prescribe pain relief for the first time. Even more frightening, prescribed medications like depressants, opiates, and antidepressants cause more overdose deaths, 45%, than illicit drugs like cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, and amphetamines. 39% combined worldwide prescription drugs are the fourth leading cause of death. And you can find that in the dailyhealthpost.com /common/prescription/drugs/. Standards of the care of administration of psychotropic medication to children and youth living in licensed residential settings. Summary of recommendations of the Ontario Expert Panel, February 2009. There's also another article here. I'll have them all on here too. So I'll just keep them all on there in a list, and then I'll get them down on here as you can read them. 90 children known to Ontario Child Welfare died in 2007. According to the latest report for the Chief Coroner's Office, a number of the provincial New Children Advocate says it is shocking and should trouble us all. And you can find that also is the same place anyway. So we're going to go right on here. So between 2008 and 2012, natural causes were listed as the least way of the children in care to die. At 7% of the total deaths reviewed, while undetermined cause was listed in leading cause of death of children in the Ontario Protection System, at only 43% of the total deaths reviewed. 92 children equal 43% of the deaths reviewed by the PDRC. 92 mystery deaths, and like every other year, no further action was taken to determine the cause. Separately, kids from parents, a textbook strategy of domestic abuse, experts say, and causes irreversibly lifelong dangerous even when there is no other choice. Being separated from parents or having inconsistent living conditions for long periods of time can create changes in the thoughts and behavior patterns and an increase of challenging behavior and stress-related physical symptoms, such as a sleep difficulty, nightmares, flashbacks, crying, yelling, says Amy Van Schrager, California State University. The science of separating families is harmful to the children, even when there is no other choice. In news stories, there's opinion pieces, psychological significance are sharing evidence based on insight for the decades of research demonstrating the harmful effects of separating parents and children. In an cooperated in U.S. Today, Roberta McNulty, University of Delaware, Mary Dozer, University of Delaware, and Kathy Hirsch Pesk, Temple University, write, years of research are clear. Children need their parents to feel secure in the world, to explore and to learn, and to grow strong emotionally. In Washington Post co-ed, James Cohen, University of Virginia, says, as a clinical psychologist and neurologist at the University of Virginia, I study how the brain transforms social connection into better mental and physical health. My research suggests that maintaining close ties to trusted loved ones is a virtual buffer against the external stresses we all face. But not being an expert on how this affects children, I recently invited 5 internationally recognized developmental scientists to chat with me about the Matter on Scientist podcast I host. And as we discuss the border policy's effect on the children ensnared by it, even I was surprised to learn how damaging it is likely to be. Maria Smith, University of Maryland, is quoted in this cut. The science leader of conclusion that deprivation of caregiving procedure of form of extreme suffering in children. Being separated from their parents isn't just a trauma. It breaks the relationship that children have to cope with their traumas. Forceful separation and particularly damaging, explains clinical psychologist Maria Smith Byron, a professor of family and science of the University of Maryland. When parents feel there's nothing in their power that can be done to get their children back. For all the disclosure, strangeness, and pain of being separated forcibly from parents, many children can and do recover. Mary Dozer, a professional of child development at the University of Delaware. Not all of them. Some children never recover, Dr. Dozer said. But I've been amazed on how well kids do institutionally if they are able to have responsible and nurturing care afterwards. Okay. The effects of that harm may evolve over time, says Anita Perrott, a professor of psychology at the University of North Carolina. Wellington, who specializes in cultural neurology, which may begin acute emotional distress, could reemerge later in their life as PTSD, behavioral issues, and other signs of lasting neurological damage, he says. A parent is really, in many ways, an extension of the child's biology as the child is developing totem ham. The adult whose routinely being there provides the enormous stress buffering effect in children's brain, and at the time when we haven't yet developed that for ourselves. They're really one organization in one way. When the reliable buffering and guidance of the parent is suddenly withdrawn, the riot of learning that molds and shapes the brain can be short circuited, he said. And story from BBC, Jack Stroganoff, Harvard University, discusses the evidence related to the long-term impacts. Jack Stroganoff, director of the Harvard University on the development of children, says it was incorrect to assume that some of the youngest children removed from their parents' care will be too young to remember or therefore relatively unharmed. When that stress system says activated for a significant period of time, it can have a wear and a tear effect biologically. And there's another part we need to. This is another article I'd like you guys to look at. So we need to do more to make sure the children are safe and cared for. When a child dies in care, someone is held responsible. Children, Community and Social Services Minister Lisa McLeod added. So that part right there is an article that if you Google it. So and it says that the page is unpublished ottawa.com letter. And then it says it's number 221912. There are about 16,000 children, group homes all over Ontario, and they are not doing well. So this is up to date. So this part that I'm reading to you right now is just this part right here. This when I get to the end, it's going to tell you that is actually up to the last day of December 2020. And that's what really shocked me, that the last article was on 2020, December 31st. So having said that, knowing what I'm going through, I do know that, and I don't, okay, so we're just going to continue. We're going to finish up because this is the end of Nicole Bonnie's. So does that mean someone was responsible for all the deaths and care to now or just from now on, including all the kin placement children? It does have the same effect on the children with family involved in the trauma and chaos of the family stressors. Okay. And it says Nicole Bonnie at the end. Okay, new leadership. I'm going to just read a little bit more. New leadership of Ontario Association of Children Aid Society. The Ontario Association of Children Aid Societies, OACAS, is pleased to announce Nicole Browning has started in her role of Chief Executive Officer, January 28, 2019. OACAS and Children Aid Societies welcome the Chief Coroner's Expert Panel Report. OACAS and Children Aid Societies welcome the Chief Coroner's Expert Panel Report, Safe with Invention, report of the expert panel of the deaths of the children in youth residential placements. We are deeply saddened by the deaths of these young people in residential care. Many parts of this residential services and children protection system failed them, and their deaths are unacceptable. Symptomatic change is needed desperately in order to prevent further tragedies. Although Children Aid Societies have done much good over the past 2 years on the issues, we are more coordinated approach to the work. With a focus on mutual care and joint responsibility, we echo Minister of Children, Community and Social Services, Lisa McLeod, comments on the shared responsibility. CAS governments and group homes, and that we need to do more, make sure that the children are safe and cared for. We are encouraged by the scope of the panel's recommendations. The changes needed cannot be addressed by one sector or one minister alone. The Residential Services Working Group Home, with a joint leadership between Association of the Native Children and Family Services Agencies of Ontario, ANCFAO, Children's Aid Societies, and OACAS, have been working for the past year and making significant changes on the change in how agencies and residential services. This includes dramatically increasing of the amount of information sharing going between agencies about the group homes and foster homes they use. Through our children welfare shared services, standardized assessments, and common debate on residential placements are in the works so that the agencies can make better informed decisions about safe placements for youth and removing children for unnecessary things without probable facts. The facts include you need to have total facts documentation from the court before removing a child from the parent's home, regardless if it goes to family kin placement. A kin placement is there for relief of the parent and a separated thing for no more than 3 times a week for them to have a safe place to go to discuss any issues they might have with the parents at home. The good work will continue. We apologize. We need to break down barriers and work collaboratively with all the stakeholders and partners to realize true significant changes. We will continue to act urgently on this issue. And for the most vulnerable children and the youth in care are continue to be at risk in some residential placements. We all have a part to play in keeping our children and youth safe. So this is where I'm going to go on to this website, and it's called, so it's called Safe with Intervention, a message from the expert panel. Dear Dr. Hoog, we thank you for your opportunity to participate in this very important initiative to avoid either messy and embarrassing public coroner's inquest. I hear coroner's inquest, it just scares me, okay? So there is a webpage for that. So it is www.acas.org/wp/content/upload/2018/09/safe with intervention report.pdf. So please look into this, and we're going to make I'm going to have a poll, and we're going to I got to go through some of the things that I actually know personally about my personal life and my personal friends' lives and all our children. We have 12 children around and about, family or not. So this is I'm going to have to make an inquest because there's you have to have facts in place, and if there's no facts, then there's no grounds. So anyway, so safe and caring places for children in the Youth Ontario Blueprint. We're building a new system of licensed residential services, and it started in July 2017. So there's another one that's www.children.on.ca, HTDOCS, English /professionals/child welfare/residential blueprint /index ASPX. In a rare legal case, Toronto teen gets green light to sue Children's Aid for negligence. By Sandro Contenta, feature writer, August 23rd, 2019. A 19-year-old girl alleges against the Catholic Children's Aid Society in Toronto have not yet been tested in court, but the lawsuit has been allowed to proceed in Canada. A Superior Court judge has ruled a Toronto teenager can proceed with a $2 million lawsuit against his Catholic Children's Aid Society of Toronto for alleging conducting a negligent investigation and placing her into an abusive home. The lawsuit, which claims that the society participated in filing false affidavits to take the girl into custody, is a rare example of children taken into home claiming damages. The 19-year-old teen was apprehended when she was only 11. Okay. So that's going to be found at www.thestar.com/news/Canada/2019/2008 /23 in a rare legal case. Toronto teen gets green light to sue Children Aid for negligence .html. Well, I'm going on there for sure. Okay, so next, the teen sexual cult in Ontario foster homes known to Children Aid Society victims says, Dr. Alexandria Mozar and Craig Cruz, Global News, posted June 12, 2019. The 15-year-old girl was seeking for refuge when she came to Janet and Joe Holmes' house in the mid 2000s. The couple lived in a big white farmhouse on a Spalding property just minutes outside of Bloomfield, Ontario, a village in the Prince Edward County, dotted with well-maintained homes from the 1800s. MK had been previously sexually abused with her when she arrived at the homes as a foster child, hoping to find a safe and stable home. Instead, her stay turned into a nightmare. The couple groomed her with the grace of trying to heal her. They dressed her up, made her watch porn, and eventually she was sexually assaulted by Joe. And it says, read more. It's drugs, theft, alcohol, inappropriate relationships alleged at Children AIDS group home. That's pretty serious. Okay, so I will read some more because it is down here, but that website is drugs, theft, alcohol, abuse, alleged Children's AIDS group home. That is a website for that one. Okay, MK's story is not unique. The Holmes would eventually be convicted of treating the wards in their care as sexually playthings. Joe pleaded guilty to the sexual assaults of these foster girls in the home, and Janet pleaded guilty to one count of sexual exploitation, on one count of permitting a person under the age of 18 to engage in sexual activity in her home, and one count of possession of child pornography in relation to 3 foster children in the home. Both have sentenced to jail in 2018. Keep digging because that's not their first rodeo there. That's not their first time, I guarantee it. So that's only what they got charged with. They should get life. That ruined that kid's life. They should just go for life. There shouldn't be any more questions. Life or death. That child's life is ruined because of the unsafety from the Children's Aid Society removing children. Like, what are we going to do here? So this. Okay, so. Okay. Okay, this is, yeah, so I'm going to stop there for this one right now because I'm getting, I want to make sure I read all of this to make sure that we have all the information that we need at the end of this so I can fit it all in, and so that there is going to be a petition. It's going to start, and it's going to start immediately, and I'm going to start it for these children, and I'm going to get a hold of these different agencies. I'm going to email them, and we're going to get this set up. So I haven't got down to the Cornwall part yet, but there is definitely something that you all need to know. So I'm just going to date this. I'm just going to leave this in the way it is, just the beginning. So this is going to be part 1. So I will see you soon, and I will continue doing this for you. And please subscribe and like my page, and continue watching. I have a whole bunch that I've got information. I've got factual proof of everything. I only have factual proof. I would never give you any misguided information. And it's not just a CIS, this whole pandemic and this whole issue of sexually abusing children, and it makes my skin crawl, and I have people that just don't even want to hear it, so I'm doing it on here. So if you don't want to hear it, you can just shut it off. But don't put my children at risk, because I'm not cool with that. And things are going to be really different by the end of this weekend. Thank you very much. My name is Christine Lewis, and I'm here for the children. Thank you very much for participating in me, and please, please, please subscribe. Subscribe to me and follow me, please. Thank you. And have a great day.